Uh, I got into non-duality and I started suffering. This is like my story. When I got into non-duality, the number one thing to practice non-duality is to cultivate a witness. And what cultivating a witness means is if something is happening, rather than participating in that thing or in the suffering, you witness it almost very passively. And this requires you to understand one very important thing, which is that your direct experience is considered the top priority or as a metric of what is true. Conventionally, let's say if you, me, and someone else is walking on the road and I see a UFO, but you both don't see the UFO, conventionally, they would say the UFO doesn't exist. The reason being the collective experience does not represent your direct experience. So, when your direct experience stirs away from collective experience, so your experience is labeled as false or not true. Non duality takes another approach, which kind of says, at least in terms of this, your direct experience is everything. And whatever you directly experience is true and whatever you don't directly experience is not true. So any sort of imagination, maya, or any future, past, all these are existing in not now, so that's why they are not true. The problem with this is when you take this and couple with the non-dual teaching of you're nobody, you don't exist, nothing exists, oh, I'm actually not talking is happening through me, stuff like this, it kind of like put me in a dilemma because now I do not know what do I base my motivations from. I don't know about you guys. There are a lot of spiritual people out there, and I feel almost no normal person. And as like a normal person's experience, it's like I have responsibilities. I have a 9 to 5 job. I have to pay bills. I have to feed my family. I have stuff to do. I have attachments that is there in this worldly thing. And the entire reason I got into non duality is so that it kind of eases my suffering. Isn't that at least the allure of non duality, a spiritual teaching that makes your life bliss? Wow. But when I got into non duality, it had the opposite effect because I have everyone around me, at least in the community, saying that my experience is not true and their experience is true. So everyone is out here convincing every other one that the other one doesn't exist. So this guy is convincing this guy that this guy doesn't exist. This guy is convincing this guy that this guy doesn't exist. And let's say I believe them. Let's say I think, you know what, I my experience probably it's wrong because I'm suffering. This guy is probably not suffering. So whatever he says is probably true. And if I go with that standard, then what happens is I suffer more because now I'm not only denying my direct experience, but I also do not know what to base the truth on, your teachings. And if you're watching any non dual teachings, they do not either they do not acknowledge your state of consciousness or they don't acknowledge their state of consciousness. Because oftentimes a non dual experience is very transient in nature, which I mean like the Zen kind, which is the no self or no mind. And if someone is young like me, then probably they must have had some experience on psychedelics, very high probability, because it gives you that kind of ego death experience, which is not good or bad. But the thing is, they're often transient in nature. And the real question is, how do I use this teaching to live a better life or to do whatever I'm already doing but in a more detached way? How do I actually practice non duality? And that's something nobody actually teaches. For me, this is a very interesting position because I know I'm not alone in this journey. I do not want to be a teacher. This entire channel is not about me telling you what is the right thing to do. I want to share my journey, and I'm sure this would help you in your journey as well. I want to share my experience of something or of a journey that I am on And I'm sure if you're watching this, you're on as well. There are like a lot of dualities that is you have to transcend. And just because if you remove ego, it doesn't mean that you suddenly have the entire picture. If someone says they have the entire picture, give them LSD and they will course correct really quick. So this is my predicament. My predicament is I want to live a very fulfilling life, because if we don't want to live a fulfilling life, then why are we on this journey in the first place? To know the truth, Prem. Well, the truth is supposed to liberate us, not make us suffer even more, is what I intuit, and that's what my heart says. And I feel so sad because I feel other people have a sense of superiority when they come. Oh, I have this experience that you don't, and you just have to get to where I am. Whereas I believe everyone, wherever they are, is like a perfect place to be for their journey. My journey is here is to like document my suffering, find a way out of the suffering, or maybe change my relationship to the suffering where I don't have to find a way in the first place. Wow. And share my journey, and hopefully you guys would resonate with my journey as well. We are trusting so many people so dogmatically. However, this entire journey is supposed to be a solo journey where you are discovering things for yourself. And I feel in this entire, and I think the biggest loss this entire non-dual community has is that nobody is being with their experience as honestly and as sincerely as they can. If I think in my experience, I think they're supreme. You know, Uh, does it exist or not doesn't matter. In my experience right now, honestly, I do see a sense of self. I don't know where. If you ask, oh, Prem, where is it, or something like that, of course, it's very hard to answer. But in my experience, it feels like I have a sense of self, and it feels true, and that's as honest as I can be in this moment. And from here, I can know now how to go, where to go. But if I do feel a sense of self and I deny it, saying that, oh, I actually don't feel a sense of self, this experience is not real, stuff like this, and that dynamic caused me a lot of suffering. I thought I will share this probably because you are also going through maybe a similar situation, and hopefully this liberates you. And trust me when I say this, I'm not like a newbie when it comes to non-duality or understanding the teachings or understanding the breadth of the teachings or the depth of the teachings. I spent a lot of time in it, and I understand it to a very good extent. And I'm saying you that from this place, if someone is not being as honestly, as sincerely as they can in this present moment with their experience, then there is no point in doing this entire journey in the first place. If I feel a sense of self, I do feel a sense of self. If I'm suffering, I'm suffering. If I'm not suffering, I'm not suffering. If I feel like I want to earn money and the desire exists, then the desire exists. And I don't know what's the point of lying and then denying it, and having a superiority complex on that denial, and then building a ego on it. They call it spiritual ego. Building a ego on it, and then using that ego to interact with the society, and having a sense of confidence that arises from knowing something that you don't know. And I want to just say this, all this stuff is just it's just stupid. The real question is, I'm suffering, probably you are too. Now what? How can we deal with the suffering together in a very loving way rather than motivating ourselves with anxiety, fear, and depression? That's really the question that we need to be asking ourselves, not trying to deny aspects of ourselves that feel true, but irrespective of them being true or not. That's it for this video. I actually interviewed one of the best non-dual teachers in the world, and I also share my story of my own suffering and the kind of technique I used, a very step-by-step process to overcome it right here. And please subscribe, like, it's a new channel. Any like subscriptions do help a lot. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.